Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will be sharing with you guys all of the books that I read for February. I normally tell you guys about the books that I read during my monthly reset videos, but I actually read quite a few books this month. So I wanted to film a completely separate video to really talk to you guys and share my thoughts on the books that I read this month. In total, I read about 7 books this month, 2 of which I'm still currently reading. There's about a week left in February, so I feel like I'll be able to finish them with no problem. But let's start off with the books that I did finish, and we're going to start off with the physical books because I did read some books on my Kindle app. The first book that I finished this month was The Stowaway, and I have some opinions on this book. This was definitely a quick read. It did not take me very long to get through the book. This book is about a woman who served in a jury, and she was the only juror that voted not guilty and set a serial killer free. So she happens to be on this cruise with her family to escape the chaos of the highly followed court case, and people start dying the same way that the serial killer that she set free used to kill his victims. What this book fails to mention in the summary is that the serial killer kills children. I love a good serial killer book, but I do not like reading books that have to do with crimes against children. I wish that the authors were a little bit more upfront about that minor detail, because it's not only that the serial killer happens to murder children, there's also a lot of gruesome scenes in this book, and it's very detailed. I had to skip through a couple. After I finished the book, I did go on Goodreads because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't the only one feeling the way I was feeling, like I was conned or, I don't know, misled. And a lot of people were commenting that as well, that the authors weren't upfront about the fact that this book was about a serial killer who murdered children in a very gruesome way, and that they included a lot of details and graphic scenes in this book. For that reason, I give it like a 3 out of 5 stars. It was well written, quick read. I just did not really like the plot. It did have a twist at the end, which I live for a good twist, but it's definitely not a 5-star read, and I don't know if I would recommend this book, honestly. The next book that I read was The Cuckoo's Calling. So this book is basically about a model who, according to the police, committed suicide, but her brother believes that she was actually murdered. So he hires a private detective who is pretty much down on his luck. He just broke up with his girlfriend. He's practically homeless. He's sleeping in his office. He can barely afford to keep afloat. That's mainly why he decides to take on this case, because when he first received it, he really thought that the brother was just having a difficult time coping with his sister's death. This was a very slow read. It took a lot for me to get through the first 100 pages. If you watch my 24-hour reading vlog, then you know how much I struggled getting through the first 100 pages of this book. But once it did pick up, I actually really did enjoy it. And once I finished reading, I really understood why it was such a slow read. Like, you really get to know the characters on a deeper level, especially the main character. You get to really understand why he is the way he is. There was also a twist at the end, which was kind of unexpected. I would give this book a 4 out of 5. I'm not going to give it 5 stars because, again, it took a while for me to actually enjoy reading this book. Even though it did pick up and it was entertaining, I don't see myself reading any other book in this series. So this is the first book in its series, but I'm not invested in getting to know his story more or seeing what the future holds for him. If you guys have read this series and you think that I should continue reading it because it gets better, definitely let me know in the comments below, and I'll consider picking up the second book just to give it one more shot. If you are not into slow reads, then this book is not for you. But if you love a good slow read and you like to really understand characters on a deeper level, then pick this one up. I'm currently reading one other physical book, but I want to get through the books that I finish and then I'll circle back. So moving on to the Kindle reads for this month. I have notes on my laptop because I want to make sure that I don't forget anything. But the first Kindle read that I read was The Bones She Buried by Lisa Reagan. This is actually book 5 of the Detective Josie Quinn series. If you have watched any of my other book vlogs, then you would know that I am obsessed with with the Josie Quinn series. At this point, I am heavily invested in this character's story. Like, I just want her to succeed. But The Bone She Buried is basically about the murder of her boyfriend's mother. They are getting ready to go to a family dinner at his mom's house. When they walk in, they see that his mom was murdered in her garden. Josie Quinn is a detective. Noah is the boyfriend's name. He's a lieutenant. Obviously, he's not on the case since it was his mom that was murdered. But Josie, being the detective that she is, assigns herself to the case and she tries to figure out who killed this sweet old lady. As the investigation progresses and more people are murdered, Josie Quinn has to figure out what is happening in her small town. Was her boyfriend's mom as innocent as he thinks, or does she have a more sinister past? Throughout the book, Josie is struggling with her detective obligations and also her girlfriend obligations because she wants to be there for Noah. Of course, Noah's mom just died, so he is struggling and he kind of pushes Josie away. Doesn't treat her all that well, if I'm being honest. I was kind of annoyed at that fact, which I won't give too much away because I don't want to spoil the book, but it's definitely a good read. I give it a 4 out of 5. There were some parts that were a little slow, and again, I was really annoyed at Noah throughout the book. Normally, I love Noah. He's like my second favorite character in this series. I'm all for him since the first book, but in this book, he really annoyed the heck out of me. It has a twist at the end. I swear all of the Josie Quinn books have twists in the end. Right when you think you can predict the ending, something completely different happens, and I love that. I don't like being able to predict endings in books because I feel like it's a waste of time. I love being surprised at the end, and Lisa Reagan for me never fails. It is no surprise that the next Kindle read that I had for this month is also part of the Josie Quinn series. The book is called Her Silent Cry. In this book, Josie Quinn is in the park with her godson when a 7-year-old girl goes missing. She is literally abducted in front of her parents. No one knows what happened to this little girl. It goes from the past to the present, which I really like. Lisa Reagan tends to do that a lot in the Quinn series. It kind of breaks apart the reading, so you feel like you're reading two different stories, but at the end, it actually all connects, and it makes for such a quick read, and you feel like you're never bored. So for that reason, I gave this book a 4 out of 5, right? I gave it a 4 out of 5. Yes. The only reason I didn't give it a 5 out of 5 was because I wanted more of Josie and her boyfriend Noah. I am obsessed with these two characters, and this book really had nothing to do with either of them. It takes place literally right after Noah's mom's dies in the previous book. I kind of wanted to see more of how they moved past Noah's attitude during the last book. Like, I would literally read a romance novel just based on these two characters. That's how heavily invested I am. If you haven't read any of the other Josie Quinn books, this book can definitely be read as a standalone. You don't have to read any of the other books in the series to really understand what's going on because it has really nothing to do with the main character. She is simply investigating this case as the detective that she is, and let me tell you, she is a badass detective. That's one of the reasons why I enjoy reading this series so much, because she doesn't take shit from anyone, and I love that. So 4 out of 5, and I definitely recommend this book. Continuing with the Josie Quinn series, the next book that I read is called Cold Heart Creek, and it is the 7th book in the Quinn series. Can you tell I'm obsessed? So in this book, Detective Quinn is investigating the murder of a couple whose bodies were found in the woods. As she quickly realizes there is also one additional missing person because there's extra equipment, extra sleeping bags, stuff like that. She's like, where is this third person? Are they missing? Were they abducted? Were they murdered? Or did they kill this couple? So she sets off to investigate this. She comes across a cult. She has to figure out if that cult has anything to do with the murder of the couple, and she still has to figure out where the missing person is. So it really takes you through the whole investigation. Again, there's a twist at the end, always a twist at the end. And while Quinn is investigating this murder case, she's also dealing with the fact that her abusive mother, who's in jail, is dying. She only has a few days left to live, and she wants to see Josie Quinn one last time, but Quinn doesn't want to see her because she abused her her as a child. So she's like, why do you want to see me? I want nothing from you. Die in peace. That's all. So she's battling with those emotions. She's like, should I go see her one last time, or should I just ignore her and keep it pushing since she caused me so much damage? So it's a really good book. It definitely dives into Josie's past a little bit more. She definitely has a lot of growth in this book, which I like. Again, not enough scenes with her and Noah, but that just might be me because I love those two characters. But overall, a very good read, a quick read at that. And I give it a 4 out of 5 stars. Not perfect, but definitely recommend the book. Moving on to the 2 books that I'm currently reading. One is on my Kindle app and the other one is a physical book. So since I'm talking about the Quinn series, let me just continue with the book that I'm reading on my Kindle app, and it is called Find Her Alive. It is the 8th book in the series. I think there's like 14 books in this series, so I'm halfway done, which makes me quite sad. But basically, this book is about Josie Quinn again. This girl cannot catch a break. She always has the most craziest things happening to her. Kind of makes me sad. The author really needs to give her a break. But in this book, her twin sister actually goes missing. It's kind of sad because they have a huge fight right before her sister goes missing. And to make matters worse, the last place that her sister was seen alive, the police force discover bones. So Josie Quinn has to figure out if those bones belong to her sister, if her sister is still alive, who abducted her, because all signs are pointing to an abduction. I'm halfway through the book and so far it's really good. It's a little sad because I can't imagine losing my sister. So the fact that her twin sister is missing is quite sad, especially since they had a huge argument and that was the last time she ever saw her twin. I'm really interested to see where this book leads. Hopefully her sister doesn't die because this woman has been through it, so she needs a break. Hopefully her sister is found alive. The thing about this series is that there isn't always a happy ending. Sometimes shit happens. I'm just going to leave it at that in case you guys want to check out this series. And if you do, I do suggest starting with book 1 because you get to really understand Detective Quinn from the get-go. The final book that I'm reading is 1984 by George Orwell. I feel like this is a very controversial book. Some people love it, other people hate it. 1984 is basically a dystopian social science fiction novel. The main character is basically frustrated with Big Brother. I haven't gotten that far into the book, if I'm being honest. I think I'll be able to finish it though before the end of the week. I really haven't developed any thoughts on the book yet because I haven't finished it, so I can't really have an opinion yet on the book. I'll probably update you guys in the comments section below what I think about the book once I'm done, including this 1984 book and also the Josie Quinn book that I'm currently reading as well, to give you guys an update. But that's pretty much it for my February book recap. Let me know in the comments below what book you have read this month. I would love to know. I'm also planning another Barnes & Noble trip, so if you guys have any recommendations for books that you think I should read or that I should pick up, doesn't matter what it's about. It's like I'm open to basically anything. I might pick it up, read it, and share my thoughts in my March book recap video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. I would love to have you a part of my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.